I just loved singing so much. For me, it was more like, yeah, this is the path. This is what I need to do. These are the things I need to learn.
The play was shaped around my relationship with the Middle East and with my father, but the real heart of it was how I became a full human being.
The designs have come to life so beautifully, and I think the most amazing thing is when you work so hard on something and it exceeds your expectations. That's the most amazing feeling.
Major funding for Arab American Stories was provided by Mohammed and Jamie El Arian, the Arab American Community of Michigan, the Arab American Community of Houston, Texas, the American Syrian Arab Cultural Association of Michigan. Additional funding was provided by
Talented and artistic Arab Americans are charting their own course in very competitive fields. Opera star Hanan Alattar's passion keeps her going as she pursues an international stage career. Najla Said is an actress, playwright, and author exploring her identity as a Palestinian-American and a quintessential Manhattanite. Fashion designer Rami Kashou charmed America as a finalist on Project Runway. His designs continue to wow the fashion world. Hanan Alattar loves her career. She performs with opera companies all over the world. Life on the road can be grueling, but her family is never far from her thoughts.
She's hard to keep up with. I always run, by the way, so even when I don't have to run. Gives me energy.
I'm sure she's out there. You just have to find her.
I'm Hanan Alattar. I was born in Houston, Texas. My dad was born in Baghdad. My mom was born in Nablus. They met at the University of Houston, and they stayed in the States. I am currently in Austin, Texas, where I went to undergrad, and I am working on a show, The Magic Flute. I am singing Pamina, the princess, the daughter of the Queen of the Night, who is naughty and spicy. And I'm innocent, at least in this show. Please be quiet in the mouth. I got interested in opera. I went to a Catholic girls' school in Houston, St. Agnes Academy, and one of the only classes, this is so embarrassing to admit, but one of the only classes that was co-ed was chorus. So I was fascinated with, you know, boys, just like every other girl, and so I decided to take chorus. I fell in love with it and had the most amazing teacher that inspired me to communicate through music, communicate everything, nuance. He even made us sing like, I mean, it was quite unorthodox at the time, but like smoke out of a cigarette. Like he would make us sing that kind of a phrase, you know, just for fun, you know. I started doing opera training at University of Texas in a vocal performance degree. My father was very adamant that if I was to do it, I'd have to get a scholarship so that he feels like, you know, prove to me that everyone else would invest in you as well as, you know, me, whatever. So I actually got a scholarship to University of Texas. It was like $200. So after Texas, I was thinking, okay, well, what comes next for singers? And my teacher here was very, you know, she was one of those confident as a teacher enough to say, okay, I'm done teaching you what I need to teach you. You need to go now and finish this product, get it where it's so good that you can sing on major stages.
Weil der Mann doch sich nimmer mehr kann hassen, sein Frau der kann verlassen.
My dad was already, starting to get worried again, like, Hanan, are you sure you want to continue doing this? Is this really what you're going to do? And I said, look, here's my plan. I'm going to apply to the 3 best schools, and if I get accepted, then it's a sign for me to go. Is that a good enough plan for you? And he's like, okay, we'll see. So I applied to the 3 schools. Mom went with me to all 3 auditions, and I got into 2 of them, and I got a scholarship to Juilliard. And so I went to Juilliard for my master's. And then I was there in New York for the next 12 years. I remember even walking up to the cash register at the Starbucks right near Juilliard and just feeling this energy, like, this vibe that, I am here to, even in front of the coffee maker, I am here to be the next star. And it's just this beautiful experience. It was great. It was a little scary, but I just loved singing so much. For me, it was more like, yeah, this is the path. This is what I need to do. These are the things I need to learn. You have to do lots of exercises to stretch and make sure it's relaxed. And at least my teachers taught us that, so it's very important. There's so many parts about opera that I love. To step into someone else's cultural background and just explore is so, it's so gratifying. And opera, when you're on the stage, when you're in character, when you've developed a character and you've built specificity around this character, and you've studied what that person would do in the morning, you've studied what they do at night, you're living somebody else's life, and I feel more alive in that moment than I do in any other way. And to do it with an orchestra, 50 or more people just all working together, this breathing, more than 50 people, like this huge living organism. It's like so many people are making one thing happen, and it's so exciting. Live theater, live opera. This is fantastic.
You chose.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Good.
I like starting with the lullaby.
The lullaby?
Yeah.
So you want to go through it once? Okay. Well, I decided to start this project called Mama's Lullabies under the artist name Hannah Bird because of my sister who is pregnant and just about to have her baby like any hour now. She's in the hospital. My whole family's there, and I'm here in Austin getting ready for the show. And we're rehearsing just to get some of the music ready also, just reviewing some of the pieces. I wanted something for her to have, that was me singing, but it wasn't like, so complicated. I wanted something very just beautiful and peaceful for babies.
Hush-a-bye, don't you cry, go to sleepy little baby. When you wake, you shall have all the pretty little horses, blacks and bays, apples and grays, coach and 6 little horses.
I've grown up with like 3 cultures attached to me, basically. The Arabic culture, the American culture, and then of course Texan culture, which is huge. And I have to say it's like stronger than the other 2 most of the time for me. It's been so amazing, just dancing between all 3 of those. I think that's why I chose music, because it's such a universal language anyway. It made so much sense to me, because it was so universal, and it just was like, oh, there, finally, something that all of them can fit into, like, at the same time.
Sweet about his family.
Najla Said grew up on New York's Upper West Side, fully embracing life in Manhattan. But as the daughter of Palestinian intellectual Edward Said, she eventually had to come to terms with where she fit into the cultural and political discussions swirling around her. She evokes that drama in her one-woman coming-of-age show, Palestine.
اسمي نجلة سعيد
As an actor, I feel like if you asked me to go on stage and take off all my clothes and dance around like a weirdo, I would be so much less frightened to do that than I was to go on stage and do the story about myself.
Now, this may sound rather bizarre coming from a Palestinian, Lebanese, American, Christian woman, but in the standard, stereotypical, cultural sense of the word, I grew up as a Jew in New York City.
The play actually started as a journal entry that I wrote when my father died, which I shared with some members of a theater company I was in.
My father is Edward Said, the most famous Palestinian-American that ever was. I'm not really sure.
We were working on a specific project with teenagers. It was about identity. So I read this whole piece that was about going to Palestine as an 18-year-old and wanting to be anywhere but there, and being anorexic, and all these things that I thought seemed melodramatic and self-involved.
By the end of high school, most of my friends had been to my homeland, which to them was Israel, but I still had not. I'd spent my summers in the Hamptons and at camp like everyone else in my world, but the all-important trip to Israel that all of my Jewish friends had taken with their families had eluded me. That is, until the summer of 1992. But my family trip was not about the discos of Tel Aviv or planting trees and the Wailing Wall. It was completely different. Because I went to Palestine. All I wanted to do was go to Paris or to the beach with my
Just
friends.
because my father was this person doesn't mean that I am any more comfortable doing an interview about politics in the Middle East. You know, I'll do my play, but I'm not a political person. For me, a lot of it was also, this is who I am and this is what I can say and this is how I can talk about politics. This is how I deal with being a Palestinian in America.
So, here it is, the promised land, which is nothing to me but a horrifically frightening place. My head aches from the heat and the sight of the barbed wire and the feel of the palpable tension and anger that are everywhere. There's greenery here.
It made me feel good about how I've managed to, like, I guess, deal with or sort of tackle my identity and where I see it in my life.
Here, there is just division, separation, yes, apartheid, experienced firsthand by an 18-year-old girl fresh out of one of the toniest prep schools in New York City. To go to Palestine knowing you are one of them, but looking, sounding, and acting like you are one of us, is a pretty angering and confusing experience for any teenage girl who just wants to worry about finding boys and cigarettes.
So what has happened is I've started to do it at universities and high schools all over the country. And the young people who come up to me afterwards, some of them are Arab, and they love the stuff that is specifically about the Middle East and our culture, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them are Jewish. And a lot of them are, you know, I'm half Chinese, half Indian, or whatever it is. And so the idea of just feeling kind of like I'm so uncomfortable with who I am, and I'm in this world, and I have to learn how to fit in and function, and all I want to do is just be normal, is completely, I think it's the one thing that we can all relate to.
My mom is from Lebanon, and we're going to go there too, afterwards, for the first time in 9 years.
Well, I feel like I didn't really know my mother very well until after my father passed away.
And though she has raised my brother and me far from her home, and though she struggled to do so without the help of her extended family, whose lives were meanwhile in danger as the civil war raged on in Lebanon and we sat safely in America, she never stopped assuring us that everything would be okay. Naji, Habibti, this is life. It is hard and it's full of awful things, but everything will be okay.
I just kind of became really proud and sort of interested in her and fascinated by her. And I saw the way that my dad had become who he was, in part because of her, because he had grown up like my brother and I, basically outside of the Middle East, and she was his real anchor to the Middle East. And I just wanted to give her that acknowledgement, because I think she was as much a part of shaping my Arab identity as my dad was, and I think it's important that people know that.
And she never stopped speaking to us in Arabic. Like many Arab women, Mommy is resilience personified. I don't care about this, though. I am 18 years old and she is my annoying mother.
The play was shaped around my relationship with the Middle East and with my father and all of this stuff, but the real heart of it was how I became a full human being.
Back at the gym, I was standing side by side with one of the trainers, watching the events unfold. With one eye still on the TV, he casually turned to me and said, "This is clearly the work of Palestinians. I mean, this is an act that has Arafat written all over it." That was it for me. For the first time in my life, I turned on my heels and I lunged into him. What are you talking about?
You know, in my head, I'm still 18. And I guess maybe that's how my parents felt at a certain point when I was a kid. But I do know that I have a voice and that there are things that I feel really strongly about and that upset me. And so it's less scary now.
Thus, I was crowned and outed as an Arab American. I'd never been a hyphenate before. It was kind of nice to be an officially franchised minority.
Rami Kashou shot to fame as a finalist on Project Runway. Since then, Rami has draped the shapely silhouettes of innumerable celebrities and fashionistas.
Why don't I use this? It'll be faster before they come in. I need scissors. There we go. Ready for alterations? I'm very excited because today is the official launch of this white bridal collection of bridesmaids dresses that I've been working on with Bibi. And today's the day where we are showing some of the gowns to Women's Wear Daily, Teen Vogue, Marie Claire, like some of the best editors who are super important to come and have a viewing of the collection. So today is a big deal because it's going to be a big launch. It's also a new project for Bibi. It's their first bridal collection ever. Wow. I just love this little back detail. Because, you know, as a bride, you're thinking you're going to look at the back of the gown. So we've definitely focused on all dimensions of the design. The designs have come to life so beautifully. And I think the most amazing thing is when you work so hard on something and it exceeds your expectations and you see you're like, wow, you know? That's the most amazing feeling, so. Thank you. Ooh. Broadway 23rd? Okay. I feel relieved. I feel a sense of pride. I feel tired. Not very long ago, I had pitched this idea to the owner of the company. It was just a thought. And then all of a sudden, all these gowns are there. And time just flew really quick. Sometimes I think as a designer, I'm really hard on myself. I'm always thinking, you gotta work harder, you gotta try more, you gotta do this. But it's rare, and I try to do this, where I just gotta stop and say, wow, this is so cool. I did good. I feel like I did good. So, I feel good. I moved to the United States in 1995, and I knew I was going to move here, I think, ever since I was 13 or 14, because always knowing what my dream was, which is to become a designer, and due to growing up in an occupation, I think people were more concerned and still are more concerned about buying food rather than buying dresses. So I knew that this type of business is now going to flourish in an economy that is deprived. So I moved to the United States, and I knew that this is going to be the land where many dreams come true and the land of opportunities. 6.5. Okay, so let's say this is the center, right? So this is what I guess it started at a very young age. But I think when hands-on, it became more so, it developed into a true passion and hobby at the age of 6 when I began sketching secretly, and I wouldn't show my parents. It was just this passion of mine. I started, drawing different design ideas and sketches until one day at the early age of 13, my brother found one of my secret sketchbooks, and he ran to my parents and he showed it to them. And I thought, my parents would not be proud of, their son drawing dresses and things like that. So naturally I panicked, but to my surprise, they actually were really encouraging and impressed, and I think they saw a true talent there. My father, he's a self-made businessman. He was an architect. He designed the home we grew up in, built it from the ground up. So he was always one to encourage us, but to also insist that you must make something of yourself, no matter what it is.
Rami started showing his interest in ladies' clothes since he was maybe 5 years. So whenever we had ladies visitors to his mom, he used to sit opposite them and start drawing from shoes to hats. And I remember some of the friends, they were getting married, they wanted Rami to design their dresses. That's really exciting. It was exciting at that time, and we were very proud of him. Until now, of course. Until now, we are very proud of Rami.
So this is one of the dresses Rami designed for me, and once my friends see it, they immediately know that it's Rami's. I always feel very special wearing stuff that nobody has, only stars have.
Rami is becoming more famous and more successful than before. It's a changing point in his life.
13 all-star designers here.
Being on Project Runway has been a great experience because I don't think you can pay for that kind of exposure, to be honest. And it opened a lot of amazing doors. And I think what is great about the show is it really kind of became this phenomenon that is international. The blacks all together.
I think you have an edge over the other designers in terms of execution. You mastered all of these elements.
After Project Runway, the owner of Papyrus reached out for an event, and she asked me if I'd be interested in making an evening gown out of her paper products. And I created this multi-tiered gown with a collage of cards, and it was such a challenge, but I had experienced that on Project Runway, where I made a dress out of Hershey's. I did win that challenge, by the way. I almost create a print out of their product. And then this will eventually be part of a gown. It exceeds just creating clothes. I think it's about creativity, it's about art, and we'll be doing a fashion show out of the collection of paper gowns that I've created. That did so well that it led to a collection of greeting cards, the Papyrus. This is my line of cards. As you walk in, you look over to the left. So I've created 12 fashion on paper cards with my sketches, and she's wearing real clothes, real fabric, real jewelry. That was a truly fun, creative project. This is the beginning stages of this collection where I'm basically shopping for different fabrics, but the inspiration for this collection is effortless glamour. I'm dressing all different types of women, and it's occasional wear, and it goes from cocktail to evening and wedding gowns. I'm excited about this specific collection because I'm planning to launch an online store, and through that, ship to any woman who is interested in the clothes, whether she's in the US or outside of the US. It's a lot of work ahead. We're still in development, but we will get there. I can tell you that yes, I am living the dream. I think though it's important to constantly set new dreams, because the minute you accomplish certain dreams, then you have to reach new goals, otherwise you stop. But it's not just about, oh, I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I'm living a dream. No, I put a lot of hard work into it, and that's what it takes to do that.
I am Neda Ulabi. Hope to see you next week for more Arab American stories.
Major funding for Arab American Stories was provided by Mohammed and Jamie El Arian, the Arab American Community of Michigan, the Arab American Community of Houston, Texas, the American Syrian Arab Cultural Association of Michigan. Additional funding was provided by